Well, Elias says he's gonna win, but we all know that that ain't true. You look at me, boy, when I'm singing, 'cause I'm not finished with you.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the A Show for this week. We're in the middle of February. It's after Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to my co-host Meelz.
Happy Valentine's Day, bro. I feel like bros don't say Valentine's Day, Happy Valentine's Day enough to each other.
I you know what? I'm cool with that. I'm really cool with saying that. You know, like I really feel like you should if you love your boy, hug your boy, like Boosie said, but he said it in a lot harsher words. But
I agree. I've told many friends that I did not wish you guys happy Valentine's Day yesterday, but I was busy. I think you were busy as well. We were all busy with our, significant others on Valentine's Day. But
yes.
You know what? We're here.
Yes, we were definitely busy. So you're getting this A Show a day later. This will never happen again.
You think so?
We've been doing this for almost 20 weeks. Same time, same day. This is the most consistent podcast I've ever done in my life.
This is amazing. This is one of the most consistent podcasts I've ever done. I'll just say that.
I'm just saying it definitely for me, because when I did Voice of the Voiceless, I would disappear for weeks on end.
Of course. See, and then it was like, season 2. I was like, oh, really? I thought you just stopped doing it. I was like, nice save on that one.
As seasons on Raw, where it's just like there's no rhyme or reason to when they do seasons and stuff like that. They just kind of do it.
Yeah, and you know what? That's why they're the near $1 billion company that they are, and we are not. We are just a podcast floundering.
Yes, and
we'll get there.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that story today. We have a pretty packed show. You want to get right into No Holds Barred?
Let's do that. Let's get it on.
No Holds Barred for this week. This was just announced today, so I'm kind of glad we did this a day later, because we wouldn't have been able to get this. We would have been talking about this next week. Rich Swann has just been released from the WWE.
Whew.
Right.
It said it was mutual. So that means, I guess, both parties came to agreement on how he's gonna, do in his future endeavors, and from here on out, it will not be at the WWE. I'm wondering if he still has does that 90-day contract is that still a thing if they both mutually agree not to go forward anymore?
Oh, you mean the non-compete clause?
Yes.
I don't know. I really don't know how that would work, if he would be able to waive it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've seen. Well, Austin Aries definitely. They agreed. They did a mutual thing with Austin Aries, correct? Where he mutually decided to leave, and he had the 90-day non-compete clause as well. So I would imagine that probably won't change for Rich Swann.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? We'll see what happens. I mean, in terms of just Rich Swann and his career in the WWE, I mean, he was signed, I think, with a group of superstars like Apollo Crews and, a few other sort of NXT prospects. And I think that was initially that we thought was the direction of his character, that he was going to become, a fixture on the NXT shows. And then once the Cruiserweight Classic came around, then he sort of was incorporated in that. And then it became a big scheme thing with the Cruiserweight show. Became Cruiserweight champion. I believe the third ever Cruiserweight champion, beating Brian Kendrick. He held it for a few months before losing it to Neville, and then he sort of floundered on the main roster from there on. And then, he got into this altercation with his wife, Su Yung, that sort of left everything sort of murky on his WWE future. And now we sort of see what's going on. I have no idea in terms of what could have came to this agreement, other than maybe... Yeah, I don't have a clue. If I had to guess, I'd say maybe a fresh restart.
I think that with Rich Swann, it's just such a. I'm not surprised. I think neither of us are surprised this is going to happen. I think we even alluded that this would be happening. It's just a shitty situation all around. The charges were dropped by his wife. Mm-hmm. Not sure if the DA thing is still ongoing or not. I wasn't. I don't think I read that anywhere, but I could be wrong. But I think he just knew that this was going to end. This was going to end soon, and it wasn't going to end well. Like it was going to be a situation where he was probably going to be doing catering duty, and he probably was like, "How about we just stop playing games and we just end this?"
Right. I think, just with his past and everything like that, and I think he sees himself. He was like, you know what, I can sort of rebuild my career on the independent scene. I can sort of build back, and maybe one day. We've seen this happen in the past before. We've seen people who've gotten fired from WWE for similar disputes and have made their way back. You look at Drew McIntyre, who had a sort of similar thing. He was eventually released. I know he had some altercations with his wife, who was, I think it's Taryn Terrell.
Yeah.
Yeah, altercation with his wife. I know Rhino a few years ago was released WrestleMania weekend for a sort of similar case and sort of that thing. So I know it's possible to come back, and it's possible to sort of go through the process and sort of rehandle your career. So
I feel like this was a little bit more serious than those, though. Like this was like all over the news.
This is true. But I think when I'm talking
also
about
a
those
different
previous
time.
things, yeah, it's definitely a different time. When I'm talking about those previous things, the news cycle isn't the same as it is now. WWE doesn't have TMZ in their pocket. They weren't on TMZ's radar back then. For these sort of things that happen, you even look at, I think probably the biggest example. Well, you know what? I don't want to go too far to the extremes of it all, but I guess the point is that sort of Rich Swann is, no longer with the WWE as of today. Right. His birthday, by the way.
Crazy, right?
27 years old.
Yeah, crazy. I do wish him the best. I hope he gets help. I hope he's able to find out what really was, just get help. I think that's what it is. And maybe one day we'll figure it out. It's just a really odd situation, awkward situation, terrible situation for 205 Live. First with Enzo and now with Rich Swann, who Neville. It's a snake bitten brand, and it's a brand that has to come out of a lot of shit that happened. It was just launched the wrong way, and right. They have a lot of things that they have to dig their way out of. But it looks promising for them. Speaking of promising, the next point on No Holds Barred is the WWE pulling in the loot. Their latest financial report has found that they're up to about almost $900 million in profit at this point, and they could possibly be at $1 billion by next year.
Just the way upward trajectory of the WWE is going. They said 5 years ago, 507 million. Now they're at 800 million. And, 4 years ago is when several things, I think it was really sort of an era of shift. It was an era where they sort of became more integrated in mainstream news. They became more integrated with TMZ and ESPN and Forbes and Fox Sports and all this other things that sort of bring them to sort of a mainstream capacity, give them some sort of value and give them some sort of weight. Right. They also had an influx of talent, amazing talent that sort of they hadn't had over the past 15 years. You talk about John Cena being on top for 15 years. They've had these influx of talent where they're successfully creating new stars and they're creating new attractions. And there's more than one attraction on a show. I'd probably compare this more so to the Attitude Era and how many different stars you got, Roman Reigns, you have New Day, you have Finn Balor, you have, Charlotte, you have the women doing a bunch of crazy things. And then we have the network. Network is probably the thing that's the most prominent in all of this because every year since the network has been there, revenue has gone up. They've cut out the middleman of pay-per-view, and just started making all the subscription money on their own, and they're adding content. So I think, they're continuing in the right direction in terms of building themselves as a conglomerate, a real competitor.
I think that the network has kind of bottlenecked. I really can't call the network the biggest. I know you're not either, but it's not it's pretty much plateaued at $1 million. Yeah. $1 million subscribers.
Yeah, it's about 1.5 million,
It's this niche thing that I don't know had that much big of an effect over the rights deals that they're expected to get about 500 to 700 million from the next person or the next company that buys their rights deals this year. Merch is huge for them.
Merch is huge.
Merch is
even though I think their merch is terrible, but their merch is huge.
It sells out. The people fucking love their merch. And then you also have ad revenue. Look at all of the companies that advertise for WWE just this year alone that didn't do that in 2013.
Right.
It's just like not even just like is it Mattel does their toys, right?
I believe so.
Mattel, there's Geico, there's KFC, there's just so many companies that weren't really fucking with them. They still don't have car companies. That's the one thing that they don't have. I feel like if WWE got a car company, it would be insane.
Or even they don't even have like a major sports. I mean, they have Tap Out, but it's not like, when you talk about the sort of major sports, Under Armour or Nike or Adidas or something like that just could come into play. I mean, I wouldn't know how they would figure that in, but I'm sure they could.
The Under Armour deal was big for them, I think. To be honest, they're all over the wrestlers and the backstage and stuff like that. They also said, according to Forbes, the WWE had the top selling action figure property in the US ahead of Star Wars and Marvel.
That's insane.
So and they release a lot. Like, you just think of the belts and the toy. Like, for people that try and shit on people that watch wrestling, like, this is it's undeniable how popular it is. This period, and I say, like, it's not. I wouldn't say it's in like a boom period, but I'll say that it's in the public eye a lot more than it was in 2013.
I think it's in a growth. I think it's in a growth that they're reestablishing themselves. It's not, not just the wrestling company or not even just a fake wrestling company. And they're establishing themselves as the entertainment conglomerate. I mean, you got the network, you got their movies, they're in commercials, they're pretty much everywhere. You look at how they almost went through a slump. They went through a slump again. I mean, they're almost getting out of business with the Chris Benoit situation a number of years ago. And you see how they sort of bounced back nearly over a decade later. And it's incredible. The biggest YouTube channel, biggest sports YouTube channel. The distribution rights are up in 2019.
Yes,
I believe so. So they're going to be looking.
They will be negotiating those throughout the summer, I believe.
And you've got to believe that with all this sort of hype and promoting it, I mean, their ratings are fair, but they're still some of the highest rating television on TV, period. So you got to think that, hey, we're going into something big going in 2019. So I expect it to hit $1 billion. I mean, I'm not no financial analyst or anything. I'm not JBL. But I definitely expect it to hit $1 billion for sure.
And I think the person who could help them hit $1 billion is obviously the Miz, who has a new show coming. He has a new show coming out on USA later this year called Miz and Mrs. that they will allegedly be filming throughout the spring, I believe. And he has just re-signed with the WWE through 2020.
Listen,
how do you feel about that?
I didn't. It's hard for me to imagine how his career sort of winds down, because I feel like at this point, he may no longer need the WWE. And I think by 2020, I think he re-signed because he's about to have a kid, and it's very it's consistent money, and it's more money. I mean, he's proved himself to be a top seller, but I always figured that eventually before he turned the clock over 40, he would sort of remove himself from the WWE and establish himself more in the mainstream. And I think his contract moving in 2020 is sort of going to establish that as well.
Yeah. I'm not mad at the re-signing. I think he is definitely an asset for any show that he's on. He's a great company guy. He stars in the movies. He does the interviews. He does the press. He does the marketing. He does everything. He's a man of many hats. This is something I couldn't have said 5 years ago.
No, easily. You wouldn't have believed it, but he's managed to, establish himself. He may be one of the only stars. I mean, I guess The Rock did it, but The Rock really had to leave to do it. But He's really establishing himself as like a true star in the WWE and managed to balance both wrestling, being a wrestling character, being on WWE, and having that sort of credibility of being outside of wrestling. He's hosting shows, he's in movies, he has his own reality show. He's really just building a resume. He's really just building an incredible resume over the last probably 10 years of his career, and he's really building that, and sort of moving forward, he's going to do that.
And I guess in other news, less exciting news, Dolph Ziggler has also re-signed. Have you heard the rumor that Dolph Ziggler is making $1.2 million a year for his 2 years?
Yeah, I heard $3 million for 2 years, and I was just like, huh?
That doesn't even make any sense.
That doesn't make sense to me. Just seeing
I don't believe
it. I have no idea where the money's coming from. But then again, I don't specifically know WWE contracts, but I just don't. For someone, I can't. He's been around a long time. I'll give him that. He's been around a long time. There's no way, you're still going to be making chump change when you've been around the company for over 10 years at this point. He's been in the company since 2004, 2005. I mean, he's clocking in on almost 15 years now.
That's Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns money. Like, that's the money that they need to be getting.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like then you look at somebody like Kane, or you look at someone like Mark Henry, who's been in WWE for a long time. I'm not sure their sort of contract status, but I know they were making a lot just of how long they've been around, and Undertaker and all this other things. I mean, Undertaker's a star in its own right, but yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I agree or not agree. Let me not say agree. I'm not sure if I believe 3 million, but if he gets 3 million, my God, man, I thought it was over. I was surprised he extended. Yeah, I think he just wants to end his career in a sort of decent way, potentially.
How old is Dolph Ziggler? Was he in the mid 30s or late?
He is. Let me look this up right now. He is 37. So when he retires, he'll be about
40, almost 40.
Yeah, he'll be almost 40. I know he's doing stand up. I know he's doing other things. So
he's also being an annoying right wing idiot on Twitter. So I mean, I won't miss him.
No, I won't at all. But we're going to talk about plenty Dolph Ziggler before the end of the show.
We definitely are going to be talking about a lot of Dolph Ziggler. Mojo Rawley also re-signed. I don't know if that's any news, but congrats to him.
It's a quiet re-sign. Yeah, it's a quiet. He's been around longer than we think, I think.
I'm sure he didn't get 1.2 million a year,
no, but no, but you know what? Props to him. He's someone who hopefully, they look forward to. He's very athletic. I'll give him that. He's super athletic. Just someone that they maybe work in long term. I think. I think he has room to grow.
Yeah, he's hasn't been on TV for like 4 weeks. So.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. Come on.
Speaking of re-signing,
give him that. 2 weeks. He was on the pre-show for the Royal Rumble.
Congrats to him. Speaking of re-signings or possible re-signings, Rey Mysterio and the WWE are currently negotiating on a return right now for him to.
I'm telling you, man, they've been looking at them YouTube views and like, we need that. We need that all around.
This was probably in the making way longer before that Royal Rumble.
They were looking at the YouTube views and it was like, my God, did you hear that pop? Did you see those 9.4 million views for Rey Mysterio? I mean, they've been putting up more. I pay attention to the YouTube. This is something we know. YouTube numbers, whatever.
When are you going to stop thinking that matters?
It probably doesn't matter, but I like to think that it matters a little bit, considering they like to tout so much of their YouTube, most subscribed on YouTube, and it's something that draws a lot of eyes. I mean, they've put up plenty of Rey Mysterio. They put up over the weekend. They put up Rey Mysterio getting bashed by the Big Show. Remember, Big Show had him on a stretcher and then swung him into that ring post like he was a baseball bat.
Yes.
They put that up. Boom. Numbers. But you know what? Rey Mysterio, I could see him helping out on the sort of 205 Live. But there's complications.
We'll see. We'll see. Rey Mysterio also recently announced over the weekend that he will be doing a shot with Jushin Thunder Liger at New Japan's Long Beach show next month. So I think he might be clearing out a couple of these dates before he does commit to WWE. I think that will be in the summer. I would love to see him in Money in the Bank.
I think we see him even earlier. I think we maybe even see him WrestleMania time.
I would hold off. I would hold off because if he's gonna do, I would love to see him do a New Japan, maybe not a tour, but maybe do their Long Beach show and then do one show in Japan against one of their juniors. But I mean,
yeah.
But or he could take a stop in NXT before he comes back.
I feel like
Andrade and Rey Mysterio would be amazing.
I feel like that would, but also I don't know. I'm looking at WrestleMania and sort of what it did last year when they brought back the Hardy Boys and just the moment it created, and I see something similar. You know, at WrestleMania this year, it's in New Orleans. I mean, it's a lot of fans are coming, a lot of international talent, just to bring back Rey Mysterio for that show, or at least negotiate to bring him back for that show, the biggest show of the year, where the most eyes are going to be on it. I think that's something that they should target. But, Rey Mysterio can be introduced into fold pretty much anytime. I think they're having disputes contractually because he wants to return back part-time. He does not want the full-time schedule like a Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy have agreed to. But he wants that part-time, like more of a Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Rob Van Dam, where he works sort of a few months out of his career and still able to do more of indie things. He wants that flexibility. Do you feel like he's earned that at least?
Yeah, I do feel like he's he's earned it. My only issue is that I don't know what indies will take him. He was already expensive when Lucha Underground took him. They tried to work out a deal with Impact and he was too expensive for them. I'm pretty sure that for what he's doing for New Japan, it's pretty expensive for them too. He comes at a pretty penny. He's not cheap.
Did you hear the New Japan rumors of Hulk Hogan and the price point for him?
Yeah, $750.
I was just like, whoa, okay. For him to be in the Bullet Club for one night, I was like, all right, well,
and it makes no sense. And I think these older, and you gotta think I think Ray absolutely deserves whatever he wants on the indies, but he's going to have to kind of bring that down for WWE because of considering everyone they have there. I feel like as big of a star he is, they've also got Ronda Rousey. They also have Brock Lesnar, and I'm not saying they're comparable with star power, but I'm talking money wise. They're probably already breaking the bank for them.
Listen, Rey Mysterio's a legend. He's WCW over 20 years in his career. He's still relevant, as we've seen at the Royal Rumble. He can still attract eyes. I think, since he left, they was looking for the next Mexican star, that big Mexican star. They had it with Alberto. Alberto's no longer there. They're working in Andrade and they tried it with Kalisto a bit, but you have sort of the original guy. I think when you look at in terms of what he's in the star power, he's the Mexican Hulk Hogan, to be honest with you. He's the biggest star in Mexico, I think, period, end of story, ever in history.
Yeah.
Besides maybe Eddie Guerrero, but he's one of the biggest stars out right now. I think he's earned sort of a part-time deal. I think he's earned, but I don't know if that's necessarily where they want to go with that. In terms of, I would rather, if I was WWE, I would rather Rey Mysterio full-time than Rey Mysterio part-time.
His knees can't take that, brother. They'll turn into fucking. They'll turn into.
I think that's what he's worried about too.
They're turning powder, bro.
He just started springboarding again, man. Come on.
He looks great. I think he looks better than he did on Lucha Underground. One more thing on No Holds Barred this week. Ivory joins the WWE Hall of Fame class. And I thought it was really interesting. I mean, congratulations to her. But the only thing that I found interesting about her video graphic that they played for her announcement on Monday is how much China was in it.
Oh, yeah. It was very surprising.
China a lot. They've been mentioning China a lot lately.
Ever since she passed away 2 years ago, I think they've been mentioning her a lot just because. And you know what? I'm glad they're mentioning her, but in a sense, it's also very much too late because they also spent over an entire decade not mentioning her. And even
it's never too late.
It's never too late, but at the same time, it's she wasn't appreciated when she was here. Not even in an instant. And maybe that's just the way she acted and the way she carried herself post WWE. But she's someone who was, when you talk about the women's revolution, in the early stages of the women's revolution, they didn't talk about China.
Yeah.
They didn't talk about her. They talked about the Trish and Litas of the world, but they never really talked about China and what she did in the world. But I think, running back to Ivory, it was Ivory's biggest feud. It was I want to say one of the first times, or maybe the second time, that the women's championship was defended at a WrestleMania, maybe the third time or something. But it was a notable thing in the Attitude Era because, they lost the women's championship for a long time. They got it back. Then it was in sort of a bra and panties era, but you really had this long-term feud between Ivory and China over Ivory, breaking China's neck, and it built into a WrestleMania match.
I hated that storyline.
I think Ivory, she has some shortcomings in terms of just like, I think she was carrying the feud herself, and it just didn't feel like it had as much weight as it had, it should have had. But I can't diss Ivory because I feel like she was great. She was super great in an era where you didn't really need to be. Yeah. And I think she helped out a lot of women, and she
was in Glow. She helped like kind of bring Glow out.
And I'm thinking that's going to be sort of a selling point in terms of this Hall of Fame ceremony. Maybe they have the girls of Glow induct her, maybe, something along those lines. But she was a prominent star. I mean, when they stopped hiring women, they hired Jacqueline first, and then they hired Ivory. And then she was the one sort of carrying the division, 2-time women's champion. Even moving forward in her, even going into her 40s, she was still on the main roster doing it. She transitioned to a role. I like her energy. I like her as a person. I think Ivory's cool.
And she just got a Twitter, so that good on her. So let's get into some notes from this week's shows, starting with Raw. Raw, I thought it was a good show. I thought Raw was a pretty good show.
You know what? I literally thought, and we're going to have very polarizing views, I did not think Raw was good until, the intro match with John Cena and The Miz, and I love both guys, but I wasn't really here for it. And just in the way they do it like they do every match. Okay, I bet I can beat you here. Oh, the match is going to start now.
Cena, I think that's more on Cena. I think Cena matches are starting to get into such a routine.
Yeah.
That I don't know if he's checked out. I don't know really what the issue is with Cena, but I don't feel that he's up to his 2015 level right now.
Well, you know what? It's because I don't think we're fully invested in him because we know he's sort of part-time. Like, I feel like
I don't think he's invested. I don't think
he's invested either. Yeah. And I feel like that we feel that necessarily because I don't feel like, we've been conditioned over the last year or so where these John Cena matches just happen. They come and they go, and they aren't things that necessarily matter. But he's doing his best. He's like, listen, I'm trying to main event WrestleMania, but I don't think anyone believes him because we're all like, all right, for how long? You main event WrestleMania and then what? You go do another movie? I don't think anyone expects for him. Anyone expects for him to be incorporated into these storylines or incorporated into things long term. I mean, we don't even expect him to win the Elimination Chamber. So, there's just a lack of investment in John Cena right now, but he's still a huge star.
I liked his promo. And to be clear, I think Raw was very strong in the wrestling tonight, or not tonight, but on Monday night. Mm-hmm. I don't think that it did obviously have problems, but I think the shows have been doing well by being very simple. Like, right. The Raw shows are not like complicated in any way, shape, or form lately. And I think that's why I like them because they used to be way too much. Like Smackdown, the stipulation for the Fastlane main event, the way that it was explained, I had to rewind the fucking episode just to make sure that it made sense and he was saying the right thing, you know? And I really think that what I liked about the Cena thing was that I'm liking the story. I like the story of Cena trying to get to WrestleMania, and I also like the story of the younger wrestlers or the wrestlers that are around all the time not falling for his shit anymore.
Right, and trying to stop him. Like, they recognize that it's their time now, and it's no longer John Cena's time, and they don't want him to be back in WrestleMania. I wish that was more of the selling point of it all.
And this is the
world against John Cena.
this has been a story with him since the AJ Styles feud 2 years ago. When it started 2 years ago, where it was like, okay, it's not your time. And I would love to see if during this Taker feud, which he alluded to once again on his promo this week, that they bring up the fact that he has been losing a lot. He has lost a step, and they say Undertaker's lost a step too. So I think like if they can match their falls from grace, so to speak,
right,
together, it would be a really cool story.
I mean, you had another major moment on Raw where Ronda Rousey, Kurt Angle announced that Ronda Rousey will sign her Raw contract because, of course, she wasn't going to be on SmackDown. Sign her Raw contract at the Elimination Chamber. So it's a rare moment where it's not necessarily hyping a match, but it's necessarily hyping a moment, and it's bringing Elimination Chamber. And, you know, I was talking about the undercard and how weak it's probably going to be. And judging from the results on Monday, I think it may be even weaker. But that they sort of made sort of this event for it. So we'll see what happens. This is a perfect intro for anyone to really step forward and say, hey, I want Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think that, well, and I'll get to this when we get to SmackDown. I think the Raw thing is obviously to place her where she's going to be, but I don't think anyone at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think, I mean, they're still in the cards. They're still talking about, in terms of the dirt sheets, they're still talking about the tag team match. And
there's a potential match that I'll bring up when we get to SmackDown, but
I think it's possible. The only reason I think it's possible is because Triple H is still off of television. And
the tag match?
Yeah, because I think if he was going to be incorporated into a WrestleMania match, his usual MO is, I'm building this from Survivor Series. I'm building this from the beginning of the year. He only does long term with his WrestleMania feuds. He likes building it from the year before and culminating at WrestleMania. And in this sort of season, we have not yet seen Triple H. We've rarely seen Stephanie. So it makes me think that maybe something's going to happen.
If it's Braun and Ronda, I don't want it.
Ronda? I love it. Let's do Ronda, man. Come on.
I don't want it, man. I really don't.
Let's talk about Braun then, because Braun. I mean, we had this a little bit later, but let's talk about Braun while we add Braun Strowman. Face turn came out with the Acme size cello.
Yeah,
and you know he's really. As I said, they continue to give him the toys to make him work. And as a face, it's really starting. I think everyone is really starting to love Braun Strowman, but I don't know if you feel the same way.
I don't. I think it's really I think it's really hokey, and I think that again they're testing to see how much we can take before we start turning on him, and I don't know how much more I can take because I've kind of turned the corner on him because. To be real, like his matches aren't like crazy good.
Oh, come on! All right, he's fine in the ring for what he does.
They haven't been crazy good lately. His matches have not been crazy good lately.
But there hasn't been a reason for him to be crazy good. He hasn't received true competition.
What's not true competition? He had the triple threat last week.
He just had the triple threat last week, but I feel like they've been triple threat matches. I don't think he's bad in the ring. I don't think he's not good, and I don't think he's not having good matches. I think his character's changed, and he's sort of trying to adapt to that, and he's trying to find himself. Think of a guy who's been healed the entire time he's been on the main roster, and then changing the face. Your offense sort of changes. Your psychology in the ring sort of changes. Maybe he's sort of figuring that out, but I feel like to me, I like it because it's natural. It's a natural change. They wish they could do this with Roman Reigns, besides holding a guitar, but they wish they could have done this 3 years ago with Roman Reigns instead of having to go through WrestleMania and then Retribution and then Trial Through Fire and then WrestleMania again and just sort of do this over things. I think they just wish they did do that. But I think with Braun Strowman, it's going a lot clearer and it's going a lot smoother. I look forward to what he's doing at WrestleMania. I look forward to most things with Braun Strowman.
I think you're like overlooking a lot of things that if somebody else did it, you would completely shit on it.
Sure.
And just because it's Braun, people aren't shitting on it.
I think it's because it's Braun, though. I think that's an answer, though, because I think it's because larger than life.
Well,
I think he'd be able to pull this off.
I'm not giving anyone a pass for this. I think
it's because of the star power of Braun Strowman. I think if anyone else did it, I don't know if they'd be able to pull it off the same way Braun Strowman makes these feats. Look, the man hit a guy with an Acme size cello, and I don't think anyone.
That was a regular cello. I think that was a regular. That was a regular cello. That was not an Acme size cello. That's the size of a cello, Meelz.
No, I don't think it was. I think cellos.
It is.
Someone add us and let us know what's the size.
Or it's a bass. I think it's a bass. It's like a huge. It looked like a bass.
They said bass, but I think cello.
It looked like a bass.
I don't know. I've seen bass. I've seen a bass before. Like, it's not a bass. I feel like it's a cello. But we'll see how it goes. But I can't believe we're arguing about that. But I think no one makes that or makes the feats of strength or making just the moments that he had looks good. I don't think anyone else but Braun could do it. He's kind of one of a kind on Raw right now, until maybe they decide to do it when what's his face comes back.
No, but, I hope that his Mania program is as silly as he is. I can definitely see him.
Oh, come on.
He's getting too silly, and I think by humanizing him, you've effectively kind of ruined the mystique. Like, I don't mind the mixed match challenge stuff that he does. I think that stuff's cute. It's cool and it works within that setting. But on Raw, he's never been introduced like that, and it's turning into like 2001 Stone Cold.
I think it's more turning 2002, maybe like even 1999 Kane, where Kane was sort of this mysterious guy, and there was a lot of intrigue around Kane when he debuted 1997, 1998. And then there was like, oh, he's got a best friend in X-Pac. And now he loves this girl named Tori, and now everything is sort of turning on it, and it's humanizing him. Then he's doing like the Canaanites with promos with Hulk Hogan and The Rock, and he's like, the Canaanites are screaming and all this. I think it's just the evolution of a character.
I didn't fuck with Kane. I didn't fuck with Kane when he did that.
It detracts from Stir, but it also adds another layer of dimension, I think.
Right. Seth Rollins.
All right.
I'm not feeling Braun right now. I think he's.
I feel you.
He's not my least favorite part of the show. I think that still goes to. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about something. You wanted Apollo Crew, and I noticed you didn't respond to me on Monday night.
No, I didn't. You know why? Because I thought I said very clearly. I wanted Apollo Crews to win, yeah, but I didn't think he would win. I didn't think he would win. If I had to pick a guy who was going to win, I wouldn't have picked Apollo Crews. I thought it was a good idea, but then they went with this other idea,
which I wasn't really a fan of. I thought the finish kind of fucked the match, but the main overarching story on Monday night was that Seth Rollins, he needs to be course corrected, essentially. So they're course correcting Seth Rollins from the tag program with Jason Jordan. So there's eventually in a weird segment with Kurt Angle that was like, in that one segment with Kurt Angle, he announced that Ronda was signing with Raw, and it had no fanfare because he announced it like it was just a thing.
Yeah,
and then
Kurt Angle does not. I mean, I'm sure Vince McMahon didn't coach him, but I think he wish he did now.
Yeah, and then he has this weird segment with Rollins, who cut a great promo on Monday night, I thought, where he just puts him into the 4-way second chance match, even though Rollins was not even in the original like tournament or whatever they did to do this.
Wasn't in the tournament, has been a contender, has been minding his own business for the last like 8 months, whatever.
So they did a 5-way, which was admittedly pretty good as far as 5 ways go. It was pretty good, but it had a fuck finish, of course, where Rollins and Seth pinned Bray Wyatt, and the show actually, this is some Nitro shit, and I've been watching a lot of WCW.
I've seen. Talk about it, man. Talk about it.
But this was a show that went off the air without a conclusive winner, and I think that is a lesson that is not learned for anyone who has heard or read the Death of WCW book. They are still doing finishes that don't end on TV. But they've never done an overrun to like 11-17 or something. Thank you. So they then did a social media only post where Kurt Angle essentially says, fuck it, we're going to make a 7-person Elimination Chamber. So that means that essentially there are going to be 3 people that start that match in 2 weeks. Yeah. So it's going to now be Braun Strowman, Elias, John Cena, Finn Balor. I'm missing somebody. I blanked already. Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins. Gosh, I don't even remember.
Holy shit.
It's a lot of guys.
There's a lot of guys.
Strowman? Did you say John Cena? Did you say
I said John Cena.
Elias?
I said Elias.
You said Elias. Finn Balor. Roman Reigns.
Yeah. I missed him in the Miz. Yeah, those are the 7. This match is gonna be an hour. Tops.
Well, here's the thing. I think now I thought it was very weird that he said both in, because then I felt like 2 people in one pod. And then I said, okay, that's kind of weird, but apparently it's starting out as a triple threat match. Who do you think is going to win?
The Elimination Chamber? Roman Reigns. What are you talking about? Roman
Reigns. Okay.
The stories for WrestleMania come out of this match. So if you look at the participants, hold on, let's take a look at this really quick. Look at the participants. I could already kind of do the broad strokes of what's going to happen out of this, other than Elias. That's the one guy I'm not sure of, because I think he'll get eliminated as soon as he gets in and after the sixth entry, or he'll be dragged out by Braun, because it's Braun and Elias right now. Coming out of it, I do think Taker will show up in the Elimination Chamber, or I think that Cena will lose.
Oof, and then the Taker that flight to Nevada. Yeah. The Undertaker on a plane for 4 hours cramped, and he's just like, I should have fucking stayed home.
Well, he'd probably drive. I think he'd probably like take a bus or something. Like they probably keep a tour bus. I mean, like a tour bus. Like,
I thought you were saying like a Greyhound.
No. I think broad strokes, it's either Finn Balor, Rollins, and Miz in a 3-way at Mania. Mm-hmm. Or Strowman and Finn, or it's like Roman and Cena are good. It's the rest of these guys that are doing this, but they're doing this match for actual story at this point.
Yeah, easily. But 7-man Elimination Chamber. I mean, biggest Elimination Chamber in history. But then again, I also do not like Elimination Chambers. But I think they'll make this fun. I think it's too long. It's too long. The 5-minute intervals. It's too much of. You would think there's like intrigue with every new entrant, but there really isn't. It's just a new guy who comes in and they do the same sort of thing. But I think with these 7 guys, I think they'll make it fun. I'm thinking they'll make it fun.
Oh, never in my wildest dreams did I think that this match was going to suck, because it's automatically better than last year's. Oh, and easily, I thought last year's was great, and that had AJ and Cena
and Wyatt, and everybody,
yeah. And I think that it's going to be a pretty solid match. I'm just ready to see where Raw's direction is going. I do think that we'll see big things from Finn Balor. Mm-hmm. I do think we'll see big things from Seth Rollins. I think, to keep it 100, I don't know why they just don't go ahead and do Finn and Seth and just have one of them beat Miz or for the title or something, or just have it be Miz and Finn or something like that. Like, I think one of these guys needs to win a title or win the IC title at Mania. I mean, smart money says it's going to be Finn, but I think a 3-way will work better.
I think I'm perfectly fine with a 3-way. They've done it before. I think it was a great match. I think just building up to it, it could be decent. I think the build-up could be decent, but the match will be fine. But yeah. Shoot.
Last thing about Raw is Bayley and Sasha Banks had a match this week. It was announced before the show. I really enjoyed the match. I thought
it was good. A lot of people were downing it because it obviously wasn't a classic match, but it was just like the match doesn't have the context to be a classic right now.
Yeah,
the match is an exhibition match on Raw to see who's better. It's not really in the midst of the throes of heat or the throes of passion or storyline or anything like that. It's just a one-on-one match. I thought it went well. It gave Bayley a win that she needed, even though
she's looking strong. She's looked the strongest, because even in defeat to Asuka, she looked really good. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Mixed Match Challenge, but but that doesn't matter. I'm just saying we'll get there. But it looked really, really good. I think the storyline is working out pretty well. It's building towards something. Yeah, I love the tease of the heel turn on either side on Monday, and then Nia Jax just coming in and fucking
Nia Jax, yeah, just incorporating another storyline, making the best use of all your time, and not saying these two stars are in a bubble with each other. Nia Jax isn't in this Elimination Chamber match, but she still came and she beat bitches up. So I think it's good. I think it was a great segment.
And again, it goes back to what I said about all of these storylines intersect because Asuka has shaken everything up. And I love that idea, because the only reason Nia did that attack was to prove that she just beat all of the women that Asuka beat.
Took 2 weeks to beat. She just laid them out in 30 seconds.
Exactly. And I think that they have made Nia look amazing. Listen, if people do not realize how different the women are being written in the past month to how different they've been written in the month before that, you gotta give it up to Ryan Ward. It's clearly him. Right. It's clearly him. Like, give it up to that guy. A black man too. He's a fucking genius.
Really? Let me see. Let me Google Brian Ward. Am I gonna have to give him a Black
History Day shout out?
Black History Day shout out. Oh my God.
So yeah, Ryan Ward. Shout out to him. But speaking of from good writers,
good writing to bad.
Too bad, right? Okay, Meelz, can you finally agree with me that what I've been saying for the past 2 months about SmackDown?
So here's what I want to say.
You finally agree with me? Disagree with me.
I agree with you, but I did not think SmackDown was a terrible show this week.
Oh my God. Everything has been pointing to the opposite. It has been like SmackDown usually gets, I think there's some poll. I think it's a poll that they review SmackDown. Mm-hmm. It usually gets over 50%. This week was the first time it has ever gone below 50% on a specific, and I wish I could find the name of the poll where they have viewer polls. It fell below 50% for the first time in like 6 months.
I think, you know what? I think it's, I don't want to say it's indicative of this show, but I want to say it's indicative of all the show that's led up to it and nothing really happening. But I think with this show, it's more so because of me. And I made the joke that I booked SmackDown this week, but I think I say that just because of all the random changes that happened this week. And you look at the Fastlane main event that went from a triple threat match that I don't think anyone cared about. I don't think anyone wanted to see Sami, KO, and AJ Styles go again.
I never want to see KO and AJ ever again.
I don't think anyone want to see that. And then they decided, hey, we're going to switch this up a bit and we're going to add Dolph Ziggler and Baron Corbin. Wow, does not make sense. I understand it doesn't make sense, but I think in the realm where anything can happen, they sort of said, okay, great, we're going to, and it makes sense with Shane's character. I mean, Shane doesn't want any great odds for Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens to win this match. So he put them in matches that sort of decrease their chances. I think it makes sense in sort of a writing standpoint. I don't think the direction of the show is where it should be going, but I think this week a lot of different things happened that made me say, maybe they're trying out something new. They're trying out something different from what they were going for in terms of just adding just flashes, utilizing people, using Dolph Ziggler. I mean, they did
that. They did it a year ago.
No, but I'm saying at this point when they're not doing it, they're not utilizing these people. They've had the same 3 people trapped in this vortex for so long, and now we're getting new people in the mix. That's what I'm saying. I think they're trying something else. They're saying, hey, this isn't working. So we need to try something else. So
you have Dolph Ziggler disappear 7 weeks ago.
Come
back. Mm-hmm. He relinquishes a title that he's not even talked about since he came back. Not even tried to get back. Came back at the Royal Rumble, is eliminated immediately. We're supposed to treat a match where he comes back like a big deal, even though we have gotten no explanation from why he left to now why he wants a WWE championship. Right. It has no meaning. This writing is awful.
It's awful. I think because of that, because of the direction of the show, I think they see trailing ratings. They said, hey, I want to try something. Let's finally try something different. That's what I see as sort of the pros of the show. There's a lot of cons in the show. Don't get me wrong. But they're pros and say, hey, something isn't working. I understand. I said, because this isn't working, let's try something else. They have Randy Orton, who's been floundering for the past 7 months. now is going after the U.S. title, which honestly, he's great in the U.S. title division because he adds attraction to it. I mean, he adds some new eyes to it. We saw what it's done for John Cena, the Intercontinental Championship from Daniel Bryan a few years ago. Like, this should be sort of Randy Orton's speed and sort of making those younger talent feel right again. Jinder Mahal, this is a role that's perfect for him. Not the main guy heel, but the guy is sort of a supplemental star. And now we've got Bobby Roode, Randy Orton, and Jinder Mahal in a title hunt.
It's not a problem with the characters, because sure. I agree that Jinder should be in the U.S. title hunt. It's the problem with the storylines. Even with the Randy Orton storyline, this is based off of a top 10
list. I agree. It's not cool. It's not good. But I appreciate that they're trying something new. There's, like I said, there's a lot of cons on this show, but I appreciate that they're saying, "Hey, we see this, and we're going to try something different." Instead of
turn around and
we're going to double down. We're not doubling down on shit. Let's just do
They definitely doubled down on something this week, and that was really weird promos with words flying at the screen and the New Day eating pancakes for 30 minutes.
I did not watch that. I'll be honest with you. I knew it was gonna. Obviously, they've reached a point with New Day where they don't know what they're doing with them, or they don't have any significant plans for them. New Day has done everything in the division. They're the longest tag team champions ever. They've won the Smackdown tag team championships multiple times. They don't have really a place. I mean, the Usos looks like they're doing something with the Bludgeon Brothers right now. So the New Day are sort of finding their spot. And I guess they're doing it against the newly heel team with Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. And I think they're really just sort of building the undercard for Fastlane. This doesn't look like a good show.
This show is beyond floundering, and we have until March for that pay-per-view. I think mid-March.
I agree.
For that pay-per-view.
I 100% agree. I agree the writing isn't good. I say for this show, they decided, hey, we're going to try something different. The only thing I would say was pretty lackluster of the show, in which they have not tried something different, is the women's division. And I put in notes, what women? I mean, I think they've lost. The women's revolution is happening on Raw. I don't know what's happening on SmackDown, to be honest.
It is being leveled off by someone who does not know how to write
for women.
He doesn't know how to write them. He doesn't know how to write anyone other than Charlotte. We have seen the Riot
Arguably,
Squad.
The best woman on the roster is Charlotte. Arguably, in terms of when you have the overall package, and just to find
Asuka. You gotta say Asuka.
I'd say Asuka too, but I feel like just the overall package, the superstar package, the talking, the mic, the in the ring, who's someone who brings it all together. I'd say it's still Charlotte. I say Asuka's number 2 for me, but that's really just a hot take.
That's a super hot take that I'm not agreeing with. You're gonna have a lot of people going at you for this.
Sure. I think overall,
Asuka this year has put on way better matches than Charlotte, so I don't even know how you say that.
No, I'm not saying it's better matches. I'm saying it's the overall package. Charlotte is not having these great matches. There's very rare to have these great matches when you're doing it versus each member of the Riot Squad. I mean, Liv Morgan's no general in the ring. Neither is Sarah Logan. Ruby Riott is really the only competition, and I don't even think she's going to have a great match against her.
But they're not even doing the match. They're doing a 6-woman tag next week. And I guess we can get to that where it's been Charlotte kind of attacking, or not attacking, but going against every member of the Riot Squad, further killing this group, by the way.
Yeah. So it's kind of like what's in the air for WrestleMania.
Well, I think that next week, I would say you should watch the show, because I really do think the switch is going to happen with Carmella, because I think I don't think Charlotte needs that belt right now. No. I think they're still going to go with Ronda. I do think Charlotte will come out at Elimination Chamber and challenge her.
I think with the Asuka thing, I mean, I don't feel like she's going to choose Charlotte. So I can't say hey. So it makes me wonder, what's the direction for the women? What are they doing at WrestleMania on SmackDown? On Raw, you see 3 potential matches for the women, and on SmackDown, you don't even see one.
It makes it more frustrating for me that Ronda isn't on SmackDown, because SmackDown needs an Asuka. You know what I'm saying? Like, SmackDown needs like a part-time Brock Lesnar type figure, and Ronda would bring ratings for that show. That's why I don't understand the Raw move. I understand it, but I don't understand it. Especially
Go ahead.
Well, like I think SmackDown is underserved. I think that they need a figure like that to fake, because it's like when Asuka wins that belt, the collision course is Ronda and Asuka. Nothing else will matter.
I think they need to potentially bring up or introduce some new women. I mean, they did that, but like I don't know. I didn't have full support of the Riot Squad coming in, but I think it's more so the writing. I think it's way more the writing than it is the talent with any of these stars. I think it's just way more the writing, and nothing is sort of sticking. And they're trying to try something else, and it's
a bad show. I don't have much to say about Raw. There were even the overarching story is super complicated and convoluted. Essentially, it led up to Baron Corbin going against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Dolph Ziggler, which was a pretty good match, I will say. And you beat KO and Sami clean on the same show, because to Road Dogg, wins and losses don't matter. So you beat the two dominant heels on the show after they beat the hell out of those two guys, and then you turn around and beat them again on the same show. Like, this is the shit I'm talking about.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, but you make them look like idiots.
I agree. I think they should have just inserted them in the. I don't know, but it's wild.
But yeah, that's SmackDown. I don't know how much longer I can take it. I'll give them till next week until I start YouTubing it. I might start YouTubing it next week. I really don't know how much longer of SmackDown I can take. I'm really at my wit's end with this show. But
I'll be honest. I watch probably an hour of the show. I watched the first hour of the show because the second hour I watched the challenge, but I'll watch like SmackDown on mute or something along those lines. But they're trying something different, so I'm open to see what it is. But the overall show has not been good. I'll say that.
Ratings are down for the 6th straight week. I'm wondering when they're going to figure something out, man. or not even that. I wonder when they're going to change the writing team. Like, come on, man.
I think every time the ratings go down consistently, and it's being reported where it becomes a topic of discussion of why SmackDown's ratings are so bad, they do something major. Sometimes that's bringing Vince McMahon and getting kicked in the face by Kevin Owens.
Or that's Charlotte losing the title to Carmella.
I don't even think that will bring in ratings. I think no one will. It's like, oh shit, that happened on that show. I think it's something that they're going to have to promote. I think probably John Cena is more needed for this show than he's needed for Raw right now.
Yeah. You're right. Did you watch the Mixed Match Challenge?
I watched the Mixed Match Challenge, my friend. Come on.
I heard it.
I don't even know why I watched it. I don't even know why I watched it.
Yeah, I heard it was the worst one yet.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good. Rusev and Lana defeated Bayley and Elias after Lana pinned Bayley. So
right. There's not much more I can say to that.
I will say Lana looks more. I think she looks more comfortable in the ring. But other than that, yeesh.
Yeah, someone mentioned that, like, how do you have Bayley beat Sasha, then turn around and beat her on Mixed Match Challenge? And I was like, hey, Mixed Match Challenge, it's another universe.
And if you saw the way that Bayley got beat, it's just like, what? This is someone who's taken move after move and gotten beaten with kendo sticks, and she gets hit in the head with the turnbuckle, not exposed, just slips up the turnbuckle, hits her head, and now she's out. I mean, whatever.
First Lana victory in 60 matches.
60 matches. So props to Rana. Lana is the best. Lana number one. 205 Live. This has become, now we get a consistent discussion, or at least a consistent couple minutes on 205 Live every week.
Yeah, this is the most we've ever talked about the show consistently in ever. I thought it was yet another great show. I think it might have low key been up there with NXT this week, which I just watched with the Roderick Strong. Either of them. The Roderick Strong Pete Dunne match is literally like Roderick Strong. He has been going in. He has never stopped going in. Word to Rich Homie Quan. Like,
oh my god,
the Pete Dunne match was amazing. The Pete Dunne match was Pete Dunne. I'm sorry, not Gunn. Pete Dunne match was amazing to me. I think he is completely proving why he was such a great hand in ROH and on the Indies. Mm-hmm. And for anyone who has doubted, how far he would go, even without a belt, I think he's probably one of the most beloved and popular guys on NXT and on their like kind of.
I think that we honestly keep him on NXT or 205 Live because I don't think he's going to be worth much more on any other roster, especially with the way the writing goes. But he's in his element right now. I think Roderick Strong has a lot of momentum going in. I think he's got acclimated to the WWE system. I think those promo videos they did about him 6 to 8 months ago have really worked and rejuvenated his career. They gave him a purpose, and with that purpose comes the context of his matches, that he fights hard. I didn't think he'd be this good as a face because I know on a heel he was an asshole on the indies.
Yeah,
I remember that for sure. I've seen him wrestle and just make these snide remarks just to the fans just in the middle of a match.
I think he's also said the F word too a lot.
He said a whole bunch of things, man. But you know what? I'm happy for Roderick Strong. Mark Andrews defeated Akira Tozawa on 205 Live. To advance in the tournament. Mark Andrews was part of the UK tournament, as part of the UK group of superstars. And we saw Drew Gulak in this post-Enzo role defeat Tony Nese.
It is so funny how this 205 Live is a big subliminal to Vince McMahon. You had Drake Maverick come out and say, I'm tired of this PowerPoints and shit. Stop doing that shit. Next week, Drew Gulak is completely different. Now this week he told Jack Gallagher, motherfucker, you better start wearing suits to the ring and you better be getting real ring attire. Yeah. So next week Jack Gallagher is going to be wearing like his ring attire again. Like,
have they announced who is he going against?
Jack Gallagher is going against Buddy Murphy, right?
He might be.
I think it's Buddy Murphy. No, Buddy Murphy. No, he's not. They have not announced who he's going against. It's going to be Buddy Murphy and Arya Daivari, and it's going to be. How do I always forget these lineups? I only remember like the big ones.
You know what? It's fine.
They always end up being good. They always end up being dope though. They always end up being really good matches. But I think it's Daivari and Buddy Murphy and Mustafa Ali and someone else.
And Jack Gallagher, maybe.
Is that? I don't know. It's one of them.
You'll figure it out.
I know it's Mustafa though. I'm so sorry. I sound like such a poser, even though I watched it. It's Gallagher and Mustafa Ali. So yeah, he is.
Buddy Murphy joining the 205 Live roster. I think that's a stretch. To me, it was a stretch. I appreciate how they covered it up with the scale thing because I literally just watched it on YouTube. I was like, okay, they weighed him. They did the whole, okay, he's a cruiserweight now. But
they did that 60 seconds did more for him to me than over 4 years in NXT.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was in a, what's weird is they were reestablishing him as a tag team guy in NXT. I don't know if they had their NXT match yet, but they were reestablishing him in this new tag team. And I literally thought, I thought it was the other guy, but it's but I think they released him. Who was he teamed with? Murphy and
Wesley Blake.
Wesley Blake. I'm not sure if they released Wesley Blake, but
he got Sarah Lee pregnant, right?
Yes, he did. Is he still there? Yes, he is.
Yeah, yes. I heard he's the one with the attitude problem. I heard he's got a big attitude problem.
Ooh, interesting. Listen, the 60 seconds, they had photos. They had people taking photos. He's doing the weigh-in. He's doing the cardio. He's getting in shape for 205 Live. They made people. This was the first time they said, okay, people want to be on 205 Live, that they're doing this much to cut weight to show up on the show for this opportunity, which does well for the brand of 205 Live. Right. Buddy Murphy was a very big guy. I would not believe he got under 205. I don't think he's under 205 now.
I'm telling you, Meelz, they literally do not allow anyone on that show to be on it under over 205 pounds.
He looks good. He looks trim. He looks good. Don't get me wrong. He looks good.
They need him.
I'm gonna have to be there when they weigh him because he looks over 205. Listen, I couldn't qualify for 205 Live now. I'm just letting you guys know.
And this is a gym rat.
I couldn't qualify for 205 Live, and I think he's bigger than me. Or maybe he's just more lean. Who knows? But you know what? 205 Live doing the damn thing.
I liked it. Once again, really enjoy the show. I think that when we look back at 2018 and you think about this first half, the fact that 205 Live is a must-see show, never would have thought that, in a million years. But they with all of the people that they've lost, whether it be Neville, Enzo, and Swann, they've gotten back, 3 more.
Right.
Or that are just awesome. I think that they've been doing awesome with these shows. But I do have to ask, seeing all of the first round matches, and we're going to be out of the first round starting next week. Who do you think is going to be the final 2?
I think we're looking at. Is there a bracket? I don't know who's.
They have not put out a bracket.
Yeah, I don't know. This is like, all right. So this reminds me. There was a WCW pay-per-view where they did a tag team lethal lottery thing.
Yeah.
And for the first 2 hours of that pay-per-view, there was no bracket. And I'm just like, all right, so who's going against who? And they went into the second round, still no bracket. And I was just like, what is going on here? I'd like to think that maybe for each week there was a different side of the bracket. So maybe since there's 2 matches a week, maybe it's one from side A, one from side B, one from side A, one from side B. That's what I like to think. So obviously Roderick would be going. I think Roderick is in that, and gosh, who would be his opponent? I have to see who's in this damn tournament again. Are they going to have a last chance thing?
No, probably not. And I think we'll be looking at a shakeout where it's going to be a guest and it's going to be a 205 regular.
Yeah. I think so.
I would be very comfortable in saying it's going to be Roderick versus Cedric, or definitely not Gulak, but it's going to be Roderick and Cedric, and or Roderick, and I just really don't think it'll be Gulak, even though I really enjoy his new outlook on life, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But you take out a Tommy, and it's like you kind of like wipe the slate clean with all the people that it could be. But I'll just go ahead and say it'll probably be Roderick and Cedric Alexander. I think that's the best match they've had.
I think that's the best match. I think, to be honest with me, I think Mustafa Ali has needed an opportunity for a long time and has not gotten it. And a lot of people have gotten their opportunity more than once, and he has not gotten it. So I'd like to see Mustafa Ali at least, hit the quarterfinals, semifinals, something along those lines, because I think he's an amazing superstar that they're not capitalizing on at all.
Yeah. And that was the week in wrestling.
Yeah. Pretty chill of a week.
Pretty chill week. Next week, we do have a pay-per-view coming on the weekend. So we will have our Elimination Chamber. Even though I feel like we pretty much like gets the show here, but we'll do a more in-depth deep dive into the card and who we think is going to win and what do we think is going to come out of it after next week's go-home episode of Raw. Who knows what SmackDown will give us next week, but hopefully we'll have something for them there, something for you guys as far as SmackDown goes there. But Meelz, do you have a match of the week?
I do. I'm going to say just because Ivory is going into the Hall of Fame, I'm going to give her a nod. Watch Ivory versus China at WrestleMania 17.
Ivory versus China, WrestleMania 17. Really great match. I really like that choice. Yeah.
What do you got, if you have anything?
I think that I will tell people to go back and watch the Takahashi versus Will Ospreay match from last week's New Japan card. Mm-hmm. I think it was my favorite match of last week, or after I obviously we recorded the show last week. That was my favorite match. But I think that if you want to just go deeply into WWE, I would go ahead and watch that Pete Dunne versus Roderick Strong match, because it's a barn burner. I think it's great. I think Pete Dunne, he can't be stopped. Other than that match with Enzo, he has not had a bad match on the WWE ever.
Listen, you've been watching a lot of WCW. I've not seen a lot of WCW. What are you watching? Is there anything good or anything of note that I would just find hilarious, or something that I should probably check out?
I am in 2000 as far as watching Nitros. I will be bouncing back to the 97 ones as well. I've been bouncing around, but I've been solidly on 2000 for the last week. No. Not at all. Nothing.
Everything in 2000 is like so 2000.
Oh my God.
Everyone is so obsessed with 2000, and everything is like shiny or like other things. The aesthetic of 2000 is probably a bad era.
How about this? If SmackDown ends up being just a shitty show next week, let's talk about an episode of Nitro.
Okay, I'm done with that. You pick the episode.
I'll give you a date. January.
Okay.
January 10th, 2000. We'll talk about that episode.
Okay. You know what? Let's talk about it anyway.
Let's talk about it anyway. Let's talk about an episode of Nitro. And since I've been reading Death of WCW, I can actually give more insight on this, and we can go through and we'll make notes like we would any of the other weekly shows. And we'll talk about Nitro next week.
Okay. Fair.
Sounds great. So once again, this has been the A Show on RNC Radio. Of course, you can follow us on iTunes and SoundCloud. The link will be in the description. And this week we have had a super, super packed week as far as content goes. We had the RNC Valentine's Day playlist, which is still valid for the weekend because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be doing Valentine's Day festivities. We also just released Sad Boys 2, correct?
Yes, Sad Boys 2. The compilation between me and Jeff of RNC. It's something that we've done before in the original Sad Boys. We've done Sad Boys 2. Earlier this week, did a nice little offset, playlist. Offset. We did a nice little offset playlist, and we're closing the week with a new revitalized, because we're going to make it now, instead of just making a number playlist, we're going to make it one sole playlist that's updated constantly. So I would love everyone to subscribe to this new playlist. Yes. We're going to do just RNC Radio, and it's going to be updated every week. I'll make sure it's updated every week. We'll make sure it's updated every week, and it's going to be right in time for the All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, a brand new RNC Radio, and as Meelz said, we'll be updating that weekly now. It is going to always have the new slaps on it, and we'll also be having guests curate some of our new playlists, and we might have a guest curate RNC Radio one week. You never know. We also had the official RNC Radio podcast with me and Josh Pease this week, where we talked about Black Panther, and I gave my review of the show, or not the show, the actual movie and the soundtrack, and we also talk about All-Star Weekend. And that's also on our channels as well. Make sure you check that episode out. It's really, really funny, and it's really, really good. And we also have a new show coming out this week. It'll probably be coming out the day that this can mark from RNC. They have a new show called RSPN. It is fucking hilarious. I've heard it already. It is about the latest and greatest in sports for the week. So shout out to those two. Super excited to have that show up there, because I don't know a lot about sports anyway, so it's good to have that perspective from those two guys.
I love it. I'm ready.
So yeah, RNC Radio, we're expanding, we're growing, and if you're trying to get with the NWO, since we're going to be going with the WCW theme next week, let me know. But for the A Show, it is me, Justin. You can follow me at OGJohnny5 on Twitter and Instagram, and you have Meelz. You can follow him on Twitter at MEELZ TV, Meelz TV, and on Instagram at MEELZ. And that has been another episode of The A Show. Thank you guys for listening.
Peace out. Happy Rusev Day.